Greetings, listeners. My name is Tamka, and you are listening to the Deep Dive Podcast. Mm, in this podcast, I explore different topics and my experiences with them. This is also a platform where I try to improve my English speaking skills because I feel like it's gotten worse over the last few weeks and months. If you want more information on that, I suggest you go listen to the first episode. I've dived deep into it. The name for today's episode is Feeling Your Feelings. Now, it may be a little cliche or kind of boring or a little too, well, I don't know what the word is, squishy or something. But yeah, I think it's important to feel your own feelings, and I'll, dive deep into it for today. Okay, so let's start with what kind of emotions are there? Well, we got the basic ones like happiness, sadness, fear, anger, disgust, blah, blah, blah. But actually, there's a Berkeley study. You guys know UC Berkeley, right? It's some kind of university. I don't even know. I just pretend to know, right? I did a little bit of research and I want to show you that. And they came out with some results that said there are 27 emotions. So I'll name them right now. Yeah. Admiration, adoration, aesthetic appreciation, amusement, anger, anxiety, awe, awkwardness, boredom, calmness, confusion, craving, disgust, empathic pain, entrancement, excitement, fear, horror, interest, joy, nostalgia, relief, romance, sadness, satisfaction, sexual desire, and surprise. Now, it doesn't mention hatred or, I don't know, despising someone. I feel like that's also an important emotion. That's definitely an emotion I have. I have a lot of hatred inside me, and I'm not proud of it, but I feel like that's an important emotion. But yeah, so we've got a whole list of emotions, and I think everyone's sort of felt them at some point in their lives, male or female, young, old, doesn't really matter, black, white. But I feel like there was a point in time where people started categorizing these emotions, and that's where everything sort of went south. Like, they said, oh, anger is bad, and sadness is bad, and loneliness is bad, and fear is bad. But what's good is happiness, being brave, being positive, and stuff like that. And the thing is, when people start categorizing it, they came from a place of enlightenment, I'd say. They came from a place of definitely more knowledge compared to the average person about these emotions and, the intricacies behind it. But they never taught people how or like even why they were categorizing it, because it's important to learn to figure out these emotions rather than put them away in a box, lock it, and sort of eat the key, right? But since no one really knew this until later on, or never trusted themselves to spread the message, they never taught their kids, and then sort of an endless cycle began. So basically what I'm trying to say is, there are some people who are like, oh, here are the good emotions and here are the bad emotions. So try to focus more on the good emotions. And then everyone was like, oh, okay, so we're going to try not to feel the bad emotions, right? And they were like, well, no, but it's going to take too long for us to spread this message. So let's just say, for the sake of you understanding this whole concept, yes. And then they were like, okay, cool. And then everyone just started going around suppressing their negative emotions and being like, okay, I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to feel lonely. I don't want to be scared. I don't want to do this and that. And so they were all just like sort of running away from their more than normal, like the most normal emotions that any human being should have. They were running away from it, and they were trying to sort of direct their attention to all the good things, right? The cake and the soda and the juice and the chocolate and whatever. But the thing is, what happens when you eat chocolate every single day, or for every single meal even? It starts to poison you, and eventually it stops tasting as good as as good as before, and you become addicted to it and you become dependent on it. And once you don't feel it, you try to get more chocolate, you try to buy more Snickers bars, and you try to eat more. And the more that happens, your tolerance becomes higher and higher. So yeah, I think that's sort of what happened. But this is just a personal theory. I have no I've nothing in my CV or resume backing up this information. So when you listen to this, I suggest and I strongly advise that you take it with a grain of salt, because definitely this is not something that a smart person is saying. It's just me and my thoughts, and I'm not expecting like this podcast to go super viral or anything. It's just me talking to myself, I guess. Who am I talking to? Anyways, yeah, so I think that's what happened. And then what people failed, and I think throughout the history of time, there have been many individuals who sort of reached a level of, oh, so this is what the emotions are, and this is why we should try to be emotional, and we should try to understand our emotions and feel them when we can, and control them, but not like suppress them, but control them in the sense like, oh, I shouldn't just let it go crazy. I shouldn't let my emotions control me. I need to be able to control it. And they were all like preaching these messages everywhere, but it even to this day, it's sort of hard to understand. And I think that's what makes it a fun experience, to not know your emotions, and like the journey to understanding these things. It's like a self-discovery. I think for me, my journey in understanding my emotions has definitely been a very, very interesting one, because ever since I was a kid, I was like, oh, I'm a Pisces, and then everyone would be like, oh, Pisces people are super emotional, and I'm like, what the fuck? I don't want to be this emotional pussy ass bitch girl. Right? Only girls are emotional. I'm not emotional. And I really, really tried my best to suppress it. And I remember crying as a kid, and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, I'm such a pussy. Like, I don't want to cry ever again. And I would sort of drill that into myself. And then eventually I realized, oh, okay, well, I think it's important that I feel these emotions, because where are they going to go? For the longest time, they were all built up inside of me. And it would come out in bits and pieces. It would come out during movies, of course. I'm a sucker for dogs dying. But most recently, I'd say I watched this movie called Imaginary Friends. So it's a movie with Ryan Reynolds. And oh my god, that movie, it touched me so much, because I remember I used to have an imaginary friend when I was a kid. So it was all in my head. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear voices or anything. But it all was it was all happening in my head, and it was a coping mechanism for me to for me to like, oh, I don't want to be alone because it's dark and I'm really, really scared, and I'm home alone. The lights are out and there's no electricity. What do I do? So I used to talk to myself, right? And then I would pretend that there was someone there, or pretend that my little Pluffies, so that's what I call my bear, my teddy bear. I would pretend that Pluffies was alive, and then Pluffies was sort of protecting me from these ghosts. And if I didn't do that, then I would be so fucking scared of the dark. And I'll go crazy, maybe, I don't know. I mean, nothing would have happened. I guess I would just been really scared and then would fall asleep. But yeah, that was just sort of like a coping mechanism. And I watched that movie and I was like, fuck, this movie hits so hard. And I cried in the cinema. I was watching it with someone, and then she was like, what, are you crying? And I couldn't even say yes or no, because I was holding back like this fucking disgusting cry, just me like wailing. I was holding it back because I knew that if I let go, I would be like, I knew that it was just like terrible, and it would become something like that. So I was like trying to hold it back. But yeah, that happened. So I think, you suppress all these emotions, and you later find out, oh, this is the form in which it is coming out, right? um I definitely, for me, there were a lot of journeys I had to go on to really understand, oh, I am an emotional person. And it's not because I'm emotional, it's not because I'm a Pisces, it's just because I'm human. And it's because I'm human, and I need to understand, I need to feel these emotions for me to fully know who I am and what kind of person I am and what I like and what I don't like. There are definitely ways, I guess, to control your emotions and stuff like that. But for me, it was just like, hey, I think I need to stop trying to be this image that I had when I was 10 years old. I think I need to stop trying to be that person and just start trying to be myself. Um, so that's sort of where everything began. I'd say that was, I don't exactly know when it was, but I'd say that was like a couple of years ago. Very recently, I say 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 years ago. And it's yeah, okay, what the fuck was I talking about? So yeah, it all started with me just saying like, hey, I need to stop. I need to. I think that was actually when I started seeing my psychiatrist. I haven't seen her in a long time, but I wouldn't say she really opened my eyes. Okay, maybe she did. That's very interesting. I haven't really thought of that. But we started doing therapy, or I started therapy, and then she sort of therapeuticized me. She gave me some therapy pills. So moving on, I have some quotes here, and I think it would be interesting if I talked about them. The first one is, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. Yeah. Seeing yourself naked in the mirror, as in not like without your clothes, but seeing yourself naked in terms of all the fucking fucked up thoughts and fucked up experiences and bad things you've done, with all the good things and the helpful things, the gestures you've made, seeing all of them together at the same time in a mirror, in a sort of hypothetical mirror, let's say. I think that's something that not a lot of people can do, and this is just me. I feel like I'm trying to get to that place in a way. It's not easy, because there are definitely some parts of me that I don't want to accept, that I look at and say, fuck, I can't believe I was this person before. I don't like who I was before, right? And it's a different feeling from when you look at your Facebook posts from like 2012. You look at it and you think, oh, I was so dumb, haha. I was so dumb. I was such an idiot. I was such a little kid, ha ha ha. I didn't know anything. I was innocent, blah blah blah. But when you look at the emotions you've had, and all the different decisions you've made because of these emotions, because of your emotional immaturity, you look at yourself and think, oh my God, that is terrible. I cannot believe this person used to exist and this person was me. I cannot believe that I did these things and said these things. It's terrible. And as I always say, I'm on a journey to find contentment and peace and stuff like that. And this is something that I feel is a crucial part of self-acceptance, which is to look at yourself and be like, okay, this is what I did, this is who I was, and this is how I grew. I learned these things along the way, and now, because I was able to be this person before, be this fucking annoying or fucked up or whatever this person I was before, now I can become someone else. Thanks to this person, I can become someone who is better. Thanks to this person, I can find the difference or understand the difference between good and bad. So yeah, it's a really painful process, I'd say, because it takes a lot of self-forgiveness. That's something that a lot of people don't understand. They want others to forgive them, but you're not looking for what is it called? You're not looking for approval. Your life is not an approval. Your life isn't a yes from other people. It's a yes from yourself, or for yourself. Okay, some people might say God, but I don't believe in God, so I believe in myself, and I'll sort of talk about it from that perspective. So, you know, I think the moment you start looking at yourself and say, "Hey, man, it's okay. You've made a lot of mistakes, and you're gonna keep on making mistakes, but this is your first time, so just do it. Just, live your life, and don't apologize. Okay, if you kill someone, yeah, all right." Or like you do something bad, then of course apologize, but don't be sorry for being human, right? And don't look for approval from others, for being you, right? And some people are gonna take this a little bit the wrong way and think, "Oh fuck, I'm crazy," and hopefully there aren't a lot of people like that listening to this. But yeah, I think, yeah, that sort of, for me, that was the moment where I started. Okay, it didn't happen yet, because I think it's going to be a long process. I think I'm still on my way there. But there was a point in time in the last couple of weeks, maybe months, where I was like, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay with this. I'm okay with being like this. I'm okay with making these mistakes right now." When I'm aware of the mistakes I'm making, I'm like, "Okay, I'm okay with this." It sucks that it happened, but at least, I forgive myself, because I know that at the time I didn't mean anything wrong. I didn't mean anything bad. I'm okay with it. And I've sort of started to forgive myself and look at myself as someone who is just on like a trial period, and that's what people need to do as well with themselves. Um, I'm not sure, you know. I'm just talking out of. I'm literally talking about this topic right now, and I don't know if I'm right or not. So coming back to the quote, there's no coming to consciousness without pain. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. By Carl Jung or Carl Jung. I'm not sure. Next one is, we delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty. Maya Angelou. So I think this one's kind of crazy. Because when someone is going through their cocoon phase, let's say everyone's a butterfly towards the end of their life, and there is a cocoon phase where they're understanding, oh, I need to go through this process in order to be a butterfly. That person is the most sensitive, and in my case, eccentric. I look back on my cocoon phase. I mean, I'd say there are many cocoon phases, and everyone becomes butterflies again and again, and it's sort of like a ego death cycle, all the way to beautiful butterfly sprouting its wings, etc. So from that process to that process, we show different sides of us that either are temporary or is a character building moment for who we are about to become in the future. And for me, there was a lot of temporary emotions and temporary temperaments, especially in the last few years. And I'm super super embarrassed about the way I talk to people, what I shared, the fact that I talk about my personal life so much about with people, and the fact that I let my emotions do the talking rather than, I don't know, becoming someone who can control his emotions. I'm not sure. It's just, I look back at it and I'm like, fuck, why did I do all that? Maybe for the people I talked to, they felt a little bit closer to me. Maybe they looked at me and thought I was kind of pathetic, or I don't know what these people thought. And right now, honestly, I don't really care, because I've talked to who I talked to and I told them what I told them. So there's no going back. So I've sort of accepted it. But at the same time, this cocoon phase, I feel, is a very sensitive moment in someone's life, and I think we need to sort of appreciate these moments a little bit more. For me, I look back at sort of my cocoon phase and think, fuck, I hope it never happens again. But I know it will. But, next time I'm going to be a little bit more prepared, right? And this was a defining moment this was a defining phase for who I am right now, I'd say, because I was so emotional, and now I'm trying to sort of not suppress. Okay, that's the wrong word. But now I'm trying to sort of be more aware of what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it, or how I'm feeling it, what triggers it, what are some ways for me to, filter out, okay, which one is actually deserving of my attention and which one is just there to fuck me up right now. And yeah, I like this quote, Maya Angelou, you're whoever you are, you're the GOAT. And the last one, Embrace the Glorious Mess That You Are by Elizabeth Gilbert. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I think this is a beautiful little quote. I like it. Embrace the glorious mess that you are. I think it resonates with me because I look at myself as a mess. I feel like I'm a very interesting mess sometimes because of the things I've felt and the experience I have, and the things I've done in my life and the people I've met. I feel like I'm such a glorious mess, and I'm, I look back and think about all the mistakes I've made, and it has they've all contributed to who I am today. But looking back at it now, I'm like, oh man, why did I do that? Why did I have to do that? Could I have just done something a little different? Why did I have to do that? But after every single moment, there have been, key learning moments. And if I hadn't done all those things, I don't think I would have learned all those things. And I'm not sitting here telling you from like a guru perspective that like, oh, this is how it is and you should listen to me. I'm like the smart ass person and I'm sort of spiritually enlightened and everything. No, I'm here just talking to you about whatever I want, and I'm rambling because, well, fucking whatever, right? Who gives a fuck? And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, tough cookies, or whatever the phrase is. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about today. It's been a short episode compared to the last one. But yeah, it's been very nice. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I have a few topics lined up, and I'm sort of just waiting for the right moment to record these podcasts. I remember with my previous podcasts, I always sort of pushed myself to make one a week and stuff like that. But for this one, I don't really want to put myself in that position where I need to pressure it out, I'd say, or squeeze it out of myself. I'd rather keep my sanity. And I would rather wait for the perfect moment to talk about these things so that I can feel more enthusiastic during the podcast or whatever. And since I'm like the only person sitting here, there's no one to sort of nudge me in the right direction and like, build upon some thoughts with me. I have to be the person who is building these thoughts from the ground up. And if I'm not passionate and if I'm not fully aware of the things I'm saying and the structure at which these topics need to be aligned, then this podcast is gonna go to shit. And it's already kind of a mess. I can feel it, but it's, as I said, it's my glorious mess, and I'm embracing it. So I hope you also do the same with yourselves and with your lives. Thank you very much, guys, and see you in the next episode. Have a good